After Montana Republican is accused of body slamming a reporter, we look at why it's open season on the media. Then more political fallout from the Republican health care bill. We'll debate how much this could hurt the GOP and also talk to the CEO of Montefiore about the human toll it would take, especially in the state of New York. Also, some New York stories, including civil war among Senate Democrats in Albany and why an upset win for a Democrat on Long Island could resonate way beyond New York. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to RFL. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Richard French. Well, tonight we're going to start with attack against the press, and this time it got busy. Well, let's begin our program in, of all places, Montana. While today a special election for Congress is being held in the so-called Treasure State, it's the actions of its Republican frontrunner that are making it a national punchline. I'd like to introduce you to Greg Gianforte. He's a millionaire Republican. He's hoping to fill the vacant seat. Now, I'm going to show you what this idiot did yesterday and why he should be disqualified, in my view, to be elected dog catcher, let alone to Congress. We'll do that in a moment. But first, we should have seen this all coming. Last week, when at a local gathering, a supporter told him, quote, "Our biggest enemy is the news media," and then he asked the candidate how he would rein in reporters, Mr. Gianforte, a profile in Courage, mind you, he pointed to a reporter in the crowd and said, "It seems like there's more of us than there is of him." Nice. Fast forward to last night. On the eve of the election, the Congressional Budget Office, as we told you on last night's show, released its score on the Republican plan to repeal and replace Obamacare. Seeing as the nonpartisan group said it would result in 23 million Americans losing health insurance, a reasonable person would assume it would be the first, second, and third question you would pose to anyone who is poised to be the only representative for Montanans in the House. So, when reporter Ben Jacobs of The Guardian asked our candidate his reaction to the breaking news, he probably didn't think he'd get body slammed as a result. Now, let me be clear. I'm not being figurative here. The guy was assaulted for asking the question. So, let's get the different accounts of what actually went down. And first, let's hear from the campaign. This is their account. Jacobs, the reporter, entered the office without permission, aggressively shoved a recorder in Greg's face and began asking badgering questions. Jacobs grabbed Greg's wrist and he spun away from Greg, pushing them both to the ground. It's unfortunate that this aggressive behavior from a liberal journalist created this scene at our campaign volunteer barbecue. Okay, so that perspective is we got an out-of-control reporter and the pushy twerp, he got his feet tangled up with a soon-to-be congressman. Except that's a bald-faced lie. A Fox News reporter and her team eyewitnessed the whole thing, and this is what they said. Again, the words of the Fox News team here, hardly as I would think the liberal media. Gianforte, they said, grabbed Jacobs by the neck with both hands and slammed him into the ground behind him. Faith, Keith, and I, the Fox News employees, they watched in disbelief as Gianforte then began punching the reporter. As Gianforte moved on top of Jacobs, he began yelling something to the effect of, "I'm sick and tired of this," end quote. You know what? Better yet, why don't you take a listen for yourself what went down?
And we'll talk to you about that later.
Yeah, but there's not going to be time. I'm just curious if you have the
speak
right
with
now.
Shane, please.
But you don't.
Sick and tired of you guys. The last time that came in here, you did the same thing. Get the hell out of here. Jesus. Get the hell out of here. The last guy did the same thing. You were the Guardian?
Yes, and you just broke my glasses.
The last guy did the same damn thing.
You just body slammed me and broke my glasses.
Get the hell out of here.
Well, reaction, at least in Montana, was swift. The three daily newspapers who had endorsed Mr. Gianforte immediately withdrew their support. Now, if only Republicans on Capitol Hill had the same spine.
The left has precipitated this tense, confrontational approach throughout the country in recent months.
I, of course, hope that the Republican is successful today because I think that his views are the views of the people of Montana.
Last, Congressman Leonard Lance from New Jersey. Good on you there, Mr. Lance. So where to start? Well, how about the truth? I know that's an elusive thing. More than being exposed as a fraud, the man two gutless Republicans want to welcome into their fold is also seemingly incapable of answering. Let's be clear now. This wasn't some personal attack. He asked him what his reaction was to the CBO score, where all the millions of Americans that I mentioned before will be losing health insurance, right? To that basic question of policy, you would think he could answer a question without resorting to a WWE move that's got him charged with assault by the local authorities. Again, that's another fact. He's charged with assault. To believe this canard that the left media is out of control and contributed, if not even caused, this lunatic's meltdown means that the press should not ask our officials or candidates their positions on policy, even policy that will impact the health and well-being of every single one of this Yahoo's constituents. If I didn't know any better, I'd swear we were in the old Soviet Union. Oh, by the way, that brings me to my final point. Greg Gianforte did not emerge in a vacuum. Don't kid yourself. If you closed your eyes, his messaging and his tone, they sure sound familiar.
It's all fake news. Russia is fake news. This is fake news put out by the media. The news is fake because so much of the news is fake. I'm not okay when it is fake. Reporting is fake. I'm changing it from fake news, though.
Doesn't that undermine?
Very fake news. A few days ago, I called the fake news the enemy of the people, and they are. They are the enemy of the people.
Okay. Well, with the benefit, I'll get to that last line he said in a second, of a past 120 days or so, it's clear we, the media, we should have been asking more probing and more difficult questions of our commander-in-chief than we did. The more he tells you that the fourth estate's out to get him, it's because yet another rock has been turned over, exposing incompetence, dysfunction, conflicts of interest, and of course, that little pesky collusion with the Russians. And speaking of the Russians, Mr. Trump is fond of saying people like me who ask questions and question motives are enemies of the people. You just heard that soundbite. Now, I'm sure he doesn't realize this because it's not in a color-coded chart or a little bullet point here, but it would require a little bit of reading of history, but the phrase enemy of the people emerged in Stalinist Russia, where all freedoms, including that of the press, were, let's just say, discouraged. In fact, a future Russian leader, I want you to think about this, Nikita Khrushchev, hardly Mr. Bleeding Heart liberal, he banned that phrase, enemy of the people, because he said, and I'm quoting directly here, it eliminated the possibility of any kind of ideological fight and was specifically introduced for the purpose of physically annihilating such individuals who disagreed with the supreme leader. Is this really where we are in America today? Where we excuse cowardly thugs and have to take advice on protecting basic freedoms from old Soviet communist leaders? Me, for one, I hope Gianforte gets his clock cleaned tonight and loses big time, to quote the president. I also hope we as a nation stop blaming the messenger and instead consider the message and the toxic place that it's coming from. Glad I got that off my chest. All right, coming up next, we put a human face on the health care bill here and talk to the head of a major hospital group about the suffering this thing could cause and especially the kinds of patients that will bear the brunt of it most. Stay with us.